Well, everyone, Tushar, just for background for
Mhm.
audience. So I spoke with Tushar earlier. He is this amazing young entrepreneur, quite a hustler, and we'll discuss about lots of interesting things today. I spoke with him previously, and yeah, as a prospect because we do outreach here at Top Leads, and Tushar is in this is also in the sales industry. He has this software that kind of allows you to get insights from your call, like records them, transcribes them, and gives you kind of a sentiment. But Tushar, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell the audience who you are as an entrepreneur and what does N2.ai entails. All right.
Sure. Thank you, Charles. Thanks for the. You have already done half of the introduction, but let me let me do the other half. So, hey people, I am Tushar Jain, uh, running Enthu.ai. So you can see it here, right? Sorry, here. Yeah, this side, right? So I run this platform which is Enthu.ai. Uh, this is a SaaS-based software that helps voice teams improve their call outcomes. And how it does it, how it achieves the purpose is that Enthu helps you monitor your conversations, not just monitor, evaluate them, and basis the evaluation, it helps you run continuous coaching for your people. So whether you are, let's say, a sales team, a support team, or a contact center, Enthu.ai can be deployed, and without listening to every single call, it still practically listens to all your calls and gives you insights, and that's how your call outcomes improve.
Okay. Who do you target at N2?
So, Charles, we started with call centers, or in the Western world, we call them contact centers. So,
Hmm.
any contact center which has, a voice process, we started with them.
Hmm.
Uh, Recently, we expanded to sales teams as well. We realized that a very strong use case exists for sales teams, specifically teams that are big enough. So, let's say sales teams where you have more than 5 people, and you have
Hmm.
formalized your, the outreach process. So your
Hmm.
calling theme is largely standardized, and we can add a lot of value there. So yeah, we started with contact centers, then sales teams. Now, by the way, we are also doing chats. So we are also running quality assurance on chats. So anyone who you know who is running these three processes, we are a good fit.
That's interesting, and that's like the best example of pivoting quite quickly because last time we spoke, which was I think 3 weeks ago, you guys didn't have that function, right?
Yes, yes, right. So I think it's the customer who is driving. We got a customer who said that I have chats and I want QA for that too. We said, why not? The base is, the largely the base is same. It's all about the integration. So we integrated with Zendesk, pulled out their chats and started running chat QA.
Mm. And who does sales at N2? Is it you that talk with customers? Is it you that does the outreach and everything? Tell me a bit more about the structure.
No. So we are two people in Enthu.ai. By the way, I didn't talk about Enthu much. So we are almost 1 year old now. We'll be completing our 1 year in the month of August. So when we started, I was doing everything, but now I realized I shouldn't have been doing all this stuff. I should have focused more on sales, which is the demo part, understanding the customer. But
Hmm.
prospecting should have been done by someone else. So now what I am doing is I have another person in my team, a junior role, who is doing all the
Hmm.
prospecting, reaching out to people, right,
Okay.
generating meetings for me. And once the
Hmm.
meeting is generated, I go into the meetings, talk to customer, understand their pain points, and try to bring them on board. So
Okay.
that's what the split is now.
So you have a junior SDR. Can you tell us about like what he does specifically? Obviously, he does calls. Obviously, he
Yeah.
uses N2 to record him. Does he do some
Yeah.
emails too, or a
So
combination?
yeah, so Charles, we are not following a calling process, and that's something we want to, get started with. We are purely
Hmm.
LinkedIn and email driven outreach process.
Hmm.
So he sends LinkedIn invites. So by the way, he starts with looking for people. We target leadership roles, which include
Hmm.
CEOs, COOs, VP sales, head of sales and coaching.
Hmm.
All these type
Hmm.
of roles we target. And this
Hmm.
this person, the junior SDR, he
Hmm.
he searches those people on LinkedIn. He sends them requests, sends them, stays in touch with them, warms them up, then sends them emails, and that's how he's generating demos and conversations. Does that answer your question, Charles?
Kind of, but did I heard right that he does not make calls?
No, he does. Yes, you are right. He doesn't make call. He does not make calls.
Okay,
Calling as a process, we are still, I think cold calling is an art, and we still,
it is.
we still, we still don't, how we are still not leave about mastering. We don't know that art, so
Okay,
that's why we
okay.
are not following that process.
Okay, but I guess it's on the roadmap later on.
Def,
Can you tell us about his stats for now? Like, I guess he's junior, but maybe
yes.
you can talk about like the forecast slash projection. How many meetings would he generate per month?
Yes, so in the month of June, he generated around 8 meetings. So
Pretty good.
that's roughly 2 meetings a week,
Okay.
right? So I think the good thing that happened is that I handled the process of prospecting for the first 6 months. So
Mhm.
largely I knew what's working, what's not working, especially when it comes to email and LinkedIn.
Mm.
So he had a working system with him, and
Mhm.
I gave him the leeway to experiment with that system, and thankfully within the first 3 months he's able to generate around 8 to 10 meetings a month.
Well, it's
So
pretty good. It's a good start,
yeah.
for a junior. So if you keep like coaching him and giving him the right tools and the right support, he should be able to double that, even triple that. Um,
Exactly. So our target, Charles, is 20, so we are still not hitting the target. So let's see how we go.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll get there. In
Yeah, in
terms
fact,
of
by the way,
yeah,
Charles, one question for you. So is since you come from this industry and
yep,
you have been here for a while, and for
yeah.
for a while, which is greater than we
Mhm.
have been here. So is 20 a realistic target from an SDR? 20 demos or 20 meetings a month, or we are
Depends
we are
on what
shooting for the sky?
industry. Like, I mean, like depends on your target and how hard it is to reach to those people. Can you remind me of the head counts in the businesses that you're targeting slash
So
the
okay.
revenues?
Yeah, so we are looking, we don't focus on the revenue, because for us researching the revenue is a hard metric, but
That
we look at the head count. So
okay,
generally contact centers, which are between 50 to 200 people,
okay, okay,
and let's say sales teams which have at least five people in them,
okay,
five
okay.
SDRs.
That's
So
okay. That helps me. So, for BPOs, I would say that your actual target, it is realistic. 20 meetings a month. I would have started, like, say, with 10. Why?
uh-huh.
Because if he reached something near 10, he would have been like super motivated. Now, if you
Hmm.
gave him like a 20 meetings objective and he generated 8, he might be like, okay, this is a bit
Hmm.
far off. Now your target is not rocket science complicated. Like BPOs, they're
Hmm.
not too hard to convert into meetings. I converted a bunch of them myself, especially if you know how to use email slash LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I could I could also like inform you about like the methods that we use here at Top Leads. We use like an amazing software to do so. We use SendGrid as a way to send the emails. We use Apollo to like get the contacts and everything.
Hmm.
Maybe we could equip your guy with this knowledge. That being said, sales teams will be I won't say like a bit harder, but like
Hmm.
CEOs of BPOs, they are relatively easy to get a hold of, and VP
Hmm.
sales. They are also relatively easy to get a hold of. So your
Hmm.
20 goal wasn't like out in the sky, was
Hmm.
probably a bit too high in terms of motivation. But I mean, if it's his first
Hmm.
month, you
Got it.
you didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I would keep it at 20. Bottom line, I
Hmm.
would keep
Yeah.
it at 20. I would expect something around 15 meetings for the next
Hmm.
month for
Hmm.
for July. And
Hmm.
once he reaches that,
Hmm.
I would kind of raise it to 30, and even one day, so 30 is one meeting per day, and that's not rocket
Oh.
science. For example, me at Top Leads, I can
Uh-huh.
easily get like myself in my agenda 5 to 10 meetings a day, but I've been in the game
Wow.
for a while, and it
Mm.
it compromises email outreach, LinkedIn outreach, and some calls, outreach, a bit like you know, like I did agree with your point that setting up a cold caller is a bit more complex, because not only does he needs to have a bunch of skills, but you need to set them up with like the right softwares, you need to coach them. And it's a bit hard, you know, because the
Right.
answer rate nowadays is like 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have some kind of power dialer so that the guy doesn't waste time. You need to
Yep.
record him, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about that a bit later. So I want to know, like, how do you coach your junior SDR? Like, do you hop on a call with him on a weekly basis? How does that work?
So coaching, I connect with my junior SDR every single day, right?
Okay,
Because we haven't completed even an year of existence with the company, right?
correct.
So we talk every day. We run a lot of experiments. We change, you know, I won't say we change industries too frequently, but
Mhm,
we,
mhm,
you know, one week we are focused on one state. Next week we are focused on maybe a different country or a different state.
mhm.
So we are North America focused, which includes both Canada and US. Then we also do for UK, for Australia,
Okay.
Philippines, right?
Mhm,
So there are a lot of experiments. It's more of a conversation every day. There is no formal coaching thing. It's more of you have the, you have the power, run some experiments. If you fail, no worries, but keep
mhm.
running experiments.
Correct.
If you succeed, let's build on top of it. And that's what our philosophy has been right from the start. So we are following
Okay,
that.
I want to know about your daily session. Daily to me, well, you know, again, we're different. Like in my case,
Yep.
I cannot block enough time
Yeah.
to take care of like my
Right.
SDRs, and I do have like
Yeah.
managers to coach
Right.
them daily. But I do like stepping in
Yeah.
at least once a week as the CEO,
Yeah.
and this kind of force that they don't have access
Hmm.
to like most of the time. Like my team kind of holds me like in high regard, so I try to step in like
Yep.
at least once a week and have like a major
Hmm.
impact in like 30 minutes. I want to know
Right.
like what do you cover in those 30 minutes? Do you have a specific structure
Okay.
to your
Yeah.
coaching sessions?
Yeah, so we generally do a quick scrum of 15 minutes every day, uh,
Okay.
which is generally towards the morning, right? Where we
Mhm.
discuss that, okay, what was the, the output, or
Okay.
the effort that was incurred the last
Mhm.
day. Were
Mhm.
there any interesting conversations that happened which need my
Mhm.
attention, which need my
Mhm.
expertise,
Okay.
right? And if there is any, there are problems, there are challenges which he's facing, there are, he doesn't have words or proper responses to do.
Okay.
So we talk about them. So see, the luxury with me is we are a very small team, so I
Mhm.
can afford time. And we don't have that bureaucracy still built in where we are a lot
Mhm.
of people and I can't devote
Correct.
time to each and everyone. So that's
Correct.
the luxury which I'm taking, right? There is no specific structure, as I said. We talk
Okay.
about, we come to things, we realize that, oh, this thing worked. You tweak the message and you got these responses. How we
Mhm.
can,
Mhm.
keep warming up the lead. Someone is not responding, it's a good lead, so what messages can be tuned, can be fine tuned. So all those things, I think these are very on the fly things. We don't have a particular structure. And again,
Okay.
I understand we need to have it, but I'm just having the luxury that we are a small team and I'm not investing in those areas. Especially, I'm not investing my time in those areas as of now.
Okay, I'll tell you like a bit more about my check-ins, and I do have daily check-ins with some of my
Mhm,
team members. By the way, my
mhm,
team, for example, my CSM Rob, which is an
mhm,
amazing guy. Shout out to Rob. So like, let me just tell you like how a coaching session looks on my end. I always keep notes of like my past coaching sessions, and we
uh-huh,
end every meeting with like clear objectives, right? So
uh-huh,
next meeting that I talk with that person, and again,
uh-huh,
it's a hard process to like
uh-huh,
master, and I'm not perfect inside it, so like I will
uh-huh.
forget every now and then. But
Yeah.
theoretically, we should talk about their last objectives that we set, right? So that's where
Right.
the conversation will revolve around. Then we will talk about urgent points and important points, you know,
Right.
because
Yep.
both are different. Urgent points, I mean, I try to give them you know, some importance, not as much as important points, and I try to negate those urgencies, you know, because urgencies, they should happen as less as possible. Urgencies are symptoms of systems that are not working. So if there's urgencies, I will not talk about solving them right now, but more creating systems to prevent them. That being said, the conversation will go like that, and I will always try to revolve on the important points. So like say we discuss about like email templates, right? In your case, that's highly relevant. Then we will review those email templates together. I will ask them about A/B test. Are they testing about like say 5 different headlines, different bodies, different CTAs in their cold emails? I will talk about LinkedIn. I will talk about their target. And 2 important questions that you can ask like pretty much any employees in your business that is always super duper relevant is 1, how motivated on 10 are they? Okay, so I'm seeking something higher than 8 on 10. And my second question is how stressed do they feel on 10? And I'm seeking somewhere around 6. So those 2 questions are kind of game changing, especially for an SDR, because if they're not motivated, they won't produce shit, you know. Like they won't move themselves, and I will use this as an opportunity to give them a motivational speech, you know. A good example of that would be 2 words, memento mori, the fact that you can die like in a second. You, Tushar, could have a heart attack right now, and I mean that would be the end of you. And same for me. And we need to make most of like every single moment that we have in our lives, and that they need to make use and give a purpose to their every second. And SDR is one of the best ways to growing as an individual and as a career. It's one of the best careers out there. It opens any types of doors, whether you want to become an entrepreneur or something else. And if, say, they are stressed, if they are higher than a 6 on 10, say that they are 8 on 10 stressed, then I know I need to reduce the pressure towards them, right? Otherwise, they will explode. And I've seen that happen like so many times in the past. I've seen countless of burnouts because me as a manager, you know, I hold people to the same expectations that I hold myself to. And I mean, that's kind of a respectful thing to do. It means that you care about others and you treat them with equal, if not higher respects than you treat yourself. But it's also a great way to have people that are not high performers burn out, you know? And I mean, that can be good, that can be bad, but sometimes burning out can be really bad, especially if you rely on them. What do you think about that?
I think this is an amazing thought. I have never thought about this, but yeah, this should be part of the coaching thing, coaching session. So love this thought process. Amazing.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to implement it right away.
Oh yeah, and I mean it makes a whole world of difference in an SDR because they rely on those 2 key factors, motivation and stress. And
Stress.
one little thought with them can change the whole game. If you want also the exclusivity factor that I talked with you, maybe a daily meeting is a bit too much. But I mean, I think it's not too much since you just started him right now. But try to give yourself a more exclusive, elusive image so that when you step in the picture, it's not about quantity but quality. And they're like, holy shit, okay, Tushar dedicated time to me, and now he's like pushing and pushing and pushing and really smashing into me to get those results. You know, they will not only appreciate that you give them some kind of sense of liberty and you let them fly by their own wings, but when you show up, they will be not like a god image for the ego part of it, but just for the impact. You have more impact when you step in like every once a week than if you step every day. Their brain will get used to your advice and they won't grow as much if you step in really hard once a week, you know. And when you step in hard, you know, so you make sure you have lots of caffeine in your blood.
Right. I completely agree with this. It's just that, yeah, we are starting up, right? The guy is new and he needs hand holding, and there is no one except me. But yeah, I take your point. I buy your point completely. As the team grows, I have to show up less. I have to focus on quality rather than quantity. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's emails, I mean, a simple Google Docs, you know, like with all the A/B tests that he thinks of sending to whom, and the whom is super important. He should spend at least 50% of his time to targeting the right people. And then commenting on his emails, his headline can probably save you that time. Anyway, you're the founder. you know what you need to do. We've got 7 minutes left, Tushar, and I want to spend those 7 minutes asking you like personal questions about
Oh,
what made Tushar who he is today, who's the entrepreneur behind Tushar. So it will be rapid fire question type of question, so you can answer
sure.
like under 15 seconds if you can. What were your greatest losses in 2020
Uh-huh.
and or 2021? And you can
Uh-huh.
follow up with what were your greatest wins during the same time.
Okay. So from where do I start? Is it the loss
Loss,
question?
yeah, so
Okay.
that we finish on a positive level.
Nice, nice. So Charles, 2020 was the time. So in 2019, I started my entrepreneurship journey. I started
Okay,
with a search engine optimization product.
okay.
And my biggest, loss in 2020 was that I had to shut it down. Right,
Ooh.
the pandemic, it was a product that marketers used to take, and when pandemic hit, most of the people canceled their
Mhm,
subscriptions,
mhm.
and
Oof.
we dried up, the revenue got dried up, and we couldn't pick it up, and most of the
Mm.
people were expecting it for free. So that was the biggest, the loss I had in 2020, though I was very much aligned with the idea, but the commercials were not in my favor.
What did you learn of that?
I think what I learned was the entire product journey. So Enthu.ai, after that product, we made Enthu.ai go live in less than 45 days. Right?
Wow.
Why? Because we had a learning from the previous product where we were just focused on building the product.
Okay,
Our GTM was very slow. So I think
okay.
the biggest learning was that your GTM has to be fast. You have to sell right from day one. Don't get
Mhm.
tied to the product, but get tied to the challenge that you are solving for your customer.
Okay, really good lesson. Okay, what was your greatest win?
Greatest win, I think Enthu.ai was my greatest win. We launched in less than 45 days. We got our first paying customer in less than 90 days. Right, within 6 months, we had 5 customers with us, 5 paying customers. Right, so all those things, I think I consider them as my biggest win when it comes to professional life. Again, these wins wouldn't have been there if I would not have failed in my earlier product, right? So I think
Yeah.
failures and wins go together.
How are you feeling psychologically after your loss, and how did you like push that aside or use that to bounce back and start N2?
I think psychologically it wasn't much of a drain. I am very much into Y Combinator videos, and Y Combinator is very clear. Don't
Mhm.
get tied to a product, right? If you're not
Yep,
getting the right signals,
so good.
just leave it, right? You will feel sad for 10-15 days, but that's part of the process. Just leave it, cut the loss, and start looking forward. So that's what actually I did. And I talked to a couple of people. I talked to them. I talked to people who have pivoted, right? And
Mhm.
I realized that it's good to pivot rather than just keep sticking to it, keep
It's
pushing it. Eh,
essential.
yeah,
You
we were
can't
actually
survive without pivoting.
yeah. So the problem, I won't say the problem, the challenge was that the earlier product, it was a new idea. So I
Okay.
have to educate my my users.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
educating was taking a lot of time, and
You need
I didn't have
funding
the
to
luxury.
educate. You need to
Yeah,
have massive
exactly,
coffins. If you're going to educate a clientele, it's cool, and you can be like
exactly,
a rocket ship company, but it will take you some humongous resources, aka like ad
exactly,
spend. And so,
exactly.
hey, I want to ask you because you're how old are you right now?
I'm 36.
26, right?
36, 36,
Three
36.
six. You
Yeah.
look so much younger than 36, and that's good for you. I look like 18 years old on my side, especially when I don't have facial hairs. Where do you see Tushar in 20 years?
20 years down the line, right?
Yep.
I have never thought about it. I think much more matured, much more patient,
Mhm.
less anxious, less less stressful. That's
Okay.
where I see myself. That's where I hope or I wish to see myself.
Okay. And business wise, where do you see yourself? You can talk about N2, or you can see about any of your ventures that you want to
Yeah.
launch.
So definitely, I think Enthu.ai, we see a great potential. We see it as a when you start a business, you have huge big dreams. So I see turning Enthu into a unicorn, right? Making it $1 billion company with strong
Oh, yeah.
business foundation. So definitely, I think we are looking for VC funding. That's a steroid on
Okay.
which we want to put the company on. But
Mhm.
back of our mind, business fundamentals are very important. Are we making money on every transaction? So we want to burn money in growth, not
Mhm.
in in giving discounts to the customer. So
Did
that's
you
what yeah.
did you hear about Gong's 7.25
Yeah.
billion valuation?
Yes, we did. And Gong, and we have another product, Observe.ai, right? These are
Okay.
ideals for us, right? Obviously, we don't want to be second Gong or second Observe.ai, but yes,
Mhm.
these two products, these serve as the lighthouse for us, right? If
Hmm.
they can do it, we want to do bigger than them, and
Do you
that's what the
think
vision.
like I do understand GOG? It's like it records calls and I've
Yeah.
never used them and
Uh-huh.
basically it gives you like good feedback.
Yeah.
And I was wondering the other day I asked like I think it was Predictable Revenues team that kind of I
Yeah.
hopped on a sales call with them. They were using Gong and I
Yeah.
asked them if Gong would provide them real time
Hmm.
feedback, which would be highly useful for a rep. You
Hmm.
know, if they're
Hmm. Yeah.
doing good or if they're doing
Right.
bad. I was telling my reps the other day that
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you know about Straight Line Persuasion by Jordan Belfort, but I mean it's a line and it goes up and down, and it would be
Yeah.
kind of nice to visualize that
Yeah.
in your calls, and they don't
Right.
do that.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I don't really know them, but I don't know. I cannot wrap my mind around a 7.25 billion valuation for a
Uh-huh.
software that records call. Maybe you understand Gong better. Can you wrap your mind around it too?
Right. Right. No, so Charles, the USP is not recording calls. The USP is driving intelligence from those calls. So
Okay.
by the way, Gong is not recording calls for you, right? Gong is pulling out the recordings from your, let's say if you are using Aircall or Ring Central or Apollo
Mhm.
or whatever, right? Gong
Mhm.
is pulling out those call recordings. The USP of Gong and Enthoo.ai is,
Mhm.
can I drive intelligence so that when you are running sales coaching, you are not
Yep.
listening to the call. You are
Yep.
taking the intelligence which my software, has has generated for you, and you
Mhm.
use it to improve your agents and improve your
Mhm.
call
Mhm.
outcomes. So that's what
Mhm.
the USP is. And definitely $1 billion valuation, it definitely makes sense because you are taking care of a process which has been manual, which has been labor intensive, and which
Mhm.
has been random. You will randomly pick the calls. What
Okay.
people in our industry they are doing is they are giving you a scientific basis to coach your agents, right? And
Okay.
coaching agents means more revenue. That's what we all are driving.
Are they also targeting like the customer service side of things?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I think, yeah,
Okay.
they
That
are.
that
They
could
are.
make
But
sense.
yeah, but their major focus is, I think, on revenue side. But yes,
Mhm.
customer side is also customer, support is also revenue driven nowadays. We
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
customer success teams, right? We don't call them customer support. We call them customer success, and they have revenue goals.
Mm.
So I'm sure they must be driving
I
those
heard the
impacts
I
as well.
heard the Google Calendar notification. When's your next meeting?
Mhm. Yeah.
When is your next meeting? In
When,
5 minutes?
so
Or it's
no,
right
I don't
now?
have, no, I'm available for next 30 minutes. If you are,
Okay,
I'm good.
well
I'm good to go.
let's make it 5 minutes
Sure.
because I just have a couple of questions that are more personal
Sure.
for you. I want to know what lessons would you tell the 20-year-old Tushar?
What lessons can these be, personal or professional?
Both.
I think the biggest lesson is that your work doesn't define you. When you're
Mm.
20 years old, you are
Mhm.
with the mindset that I'm going to change the world, which is good, but don't
Mhm.
be consumed by that mindset. There are a lot of other things that you need to take care of. For example,
Mhm.
enjoy your life, right? Focus
Mhm.
on your health, build
Mhm.
healthy relationships. That's the time when you can build healthy friendships, be
Okay.
it with your friends, parents, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
don't take your work too seriously. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean you are not supposed to work, but I think don't take life too seriously. When
That's a
you are
good
in your
one.
30s, you realize that, okay, life is not supposed to be taken too serious. That's what
Correct.
I did in my 20s, right? Too much
That's so
focused
good.
on work rather than people. Give equal
That's so
importance
good.
to both the things.
And I want to come back to the let's call it our student self. You know, when we're at
Yeah.
the university, I
Hmm.
think that the system creates like stress machines. You know, like
Yeah.
how do you call that? Like in French, it's examen. I don't know why the
we
word
call exams. Yeah, we call it
exams.
exams,
Yeah, sorry, like I
examinations.
got a brain lag here. Thank you for helping me. But we have those exams and they're so
Mhm.
stressful. You know,
Yeah,
I remember myself just like sweating and be super
yeah,
nervous and being like tied to a chair for 3 goddamn hours. You know, to like
yeah, yeah,
writing an exam and essays. I think the
yeah,
system kind of conditions to take everything seriously, and the
yeah.
stress is really unhealthy. And I'm glad like that the world is changing slowly but
Right.
surely. So that's super good. Good lesson here. What like relating to the health point that you were making? What
Yeah.
are healthy habits slash life hacks that you have right now, and you would recommend the audience here?
Yeah, I think the start of your day, it should, so your day should start with some physical activity. In my case, at times I go for cycling, at times I go for
Okay.
a walk.
Okay.
I ensure I spend at least 30 minutes. I don't do workout, so I don't go to gym. I feel
Okay.
it very boring. But at
Okay.
least do something, move your body around, right?
Yep.
Feel the, feel the tension in your muscles. And
Yes.
every day I also spend 15, 20 minutes doing meditation, right?
Super
Keeping
good.
yourself sane. I spent 20s in lot of stress. In
Mhm.
30s I realized that meditation is actually very much necessary. I'm still
Yes.
not at that level where I can de-stress by meditation, but
Okay.
yes, I am realizing that it does some impact. I can't define it, but yes, there is some impact with
So for
the
your
meditation.
first tip that you gave, the podcast before you, the guy before you, he said the exact same thing, and I do agree with like starting your day with physical activity,
Yeah,
and it doesn't need to be super hard.
yeah,
Like this morning, I did like 5 minutes abdominals. I do
yeah,
that, you know, when I don't have a lot of time and I just
yeah.
want to, you know, kickstart my system, kickstart the digestion. Bike is super cool too.
Right.
For meditation, how long do you meditate, and walk me through the process? Do you have a specific routine
S-
that you go into, or a specific
ye-
meditation?
Yes, so we have an Indian meditation system where, I do some breathing exercises.
Mhm,
There are a lot of, what we call them asanas, not asanas,
mhm,
but we
mhm,
pranayam, right? So pranayam, multiple
mhm,
type of pranayams, which are nothing
mhm.
but breathing exercise.
Yep.
So this is followed by a 10 minutes quick session of a Buddhist meditation technique, which is called um, I forgot the name, but probably I'll write it down for you,
Okay.
right? But it's called Anapan. Yeah, it's called
Anapan.
Anapan.
Okay.
Anapan, right? So I follow that, which is simply just breathe and observe your breath, right? Observe your nostrils, the breath going in, the air going in and going out. So that's all I do, and it works magic. I mean, it works magically. I can't explain why or how, but yes, it works
At what
magically.
time do you meditate?
Around 7:30 in the morning.
Okay, so you start your day with meditation. So that's
Yes,
good.
with some physical exercise and followed by meditation.
That's good because you teach your mind that first, like you do the hard stuff, you know, the painful stuff with the sport, and then you teach your mind to start in a focused and relaxed way, which is good habits and the best way to start your day. I would also recommend to our audience, like a lot of people experience problem sleeping during COVID because of anxiety.
Mhm.
I listen to some 5, 7, 8 breathing techniques before going to sleep. It's 5 second inhalation through the nose, 7 hold, and 8 exhalation through the mouth. And that
Mhm.
works wonders to just calm your brain down. And for me, it takes me it slow it cuts down the time to go to sleep from around 30 minutes, even sometimes 1 hour. It used to take me to go to sleep because I used to think too much, and it cuts it down to 5 or even 2. So that's kind of a game changing. It makes you not only save time but gain sleeping time, and as quick as you can get in the deep sleep zone, the better replenish you will be. And
Mhm.
yeah, from a meditation standpoint, I do meditation like you name, but I
Mhm.
also during the day, you know, when I feel tired and with less energy, because the last technique I suggested was to slow down. This technique actually makes you gain energy. You can try it and YouTube Wim Hof breathing technique. It's like 10 minutes and it's intense, like hyperventilation, like
Awesome.
it's
Nice.
rapid breathing, and it kind of, if your battery is down, you know, it will put your battery to 200% in like 10 minutes. So if you got out of like 10 super hard calls with your team, with clients, and your battery's down, you do that and boom, man, it's back to life. But coming back to you, I want to know, because like we're almost done here. There's like I want to just take 2 more minutes to talk a bit more about you. At what time do you get up, and at what time do you go to bed? Because right now in India, what time is it? It's like 9 p.m., right?
It's 9:30 p.m. Yes.
Okay, so at what time do you go to bed?
So I go to bed around 11.
Okay, like most entrepreneurs. So like they go to bed at 11 and they get up at like 6 or 7. So you get your 7-8 hours, right?
7. Yeah. Sleep is very important for me. If I don't get my quota of sleep, my day will be ruined. So that's how my body is conditioned. I think
That's so
everybody's body is
important.
conditioned.
Yeah. You have a specific diet?
Specific diet, it's vegetarian, right? Otherwise, there is no specific eating all vegetables, fruits, right? Milk, all the normal stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm very, very, I won't say that I don't consume junk food, but I'm very conscious while I consume.
Okay.
So no cold drinks, no sugar drinks, right? Artificial sugar drinks, no tea, no coffee. I drink plain milk. So yeah, I think plain simple eating habits. That's all I do.
I think bringing awareness when you eat to the food, and like chewing it properly and slowly. I have problems with that. Like yesterday was a good example. I overate like way too much and I paid the price. You know, I felt bloated and I felt like a big fat guy, you know, like for at least 5 hours. So bringing awareness is also a game changer. I have two
Charles,
more quick questions.
one point here, because I realized I am doing one thing which not a lot of people are doing. So I skip my dinner. I don't eat my dinner, right? So I don't eat anything after 5 p.m. In the evening.
That's quite good. So okay, so you do breakfast, you skip, and you how much time do you eat per day? 2 times?
So I take 2 proper meals, which is breakfast and lunch. Around evening, I take some snacks, which are again healthy homemade snacks, no junk food. Right. So yeah, 2.5 meals, I would say. And in betweens, I also take fruits. So whatever seasonal fruits we have, I take them.
So what are examples of snacks and fruits in India? I'm curious.
Yeah. So we have local names. So for example, we have idli, we have poha, right? I don't know the English names for them. We have vermicelli.
I don't know either.
Probably you can search for them. So all these things. What else we have? I have upma, right? So all these things I do take. At times I also do take bread, which I consider as an unhealthy food, right? But yes, at times I do take it in snacks: bread, butter, bread sandwich, vegetable sandwich. But yeah, that's what I do.
Vegetarian diet is super interesting, and I need to try it. I have 3 more rapid fire questions for you, and then we'll call it off. What are your top 3 favorite softwares? Can be personal or business.
Okay, I think not I think, but yes, the softwares which I love. I think ChargeBee is one software which I just love, right? Because it makes my life super easy. Then Canva is another one. Canva, yeah.
One of my
And
favorite
the
too.
third one, I would say Spotify.
I don't like Spotify. Let me tell you why. They are so confusing from an account creation standpoint. I'm a digital nomad and I travel a lot, you know, so sometimes I'm in Canada, other times in Morocco, other times in Mexico. And they always like ask me to create accounts. And I think they kind of delete accounts after a while. Yet it's one of my favorite startups. I'm reading the book and I would highly recommend it to you by it's Daniel Elk's story. So the CEO of Spotify. It's called Spotify Play. and it's a book I'm currently reading and finishing. So, and talking
Nice.
about that, I want to know your top three favorite book. Can be personal or business again.
Okay. Yeah. So three books. The number one would be it's The Surrender Experiment. So this book is by Michael Singer, and
Okay.
again, this book is more about surrendering to life, right? The philosophy which I talked about. Oh, I didn't talk about, by the
Mm,
way. So the philosophy of
mm.
surrender to life, let life take its part. Doesn't mean you are not supposed to do anything. You are supposed to work hard, but let life take its course, right? So this
Okay.
is my first book. Second would be
Is
Spin.
sorry to interrupt. Is it like a similar philosophy to like Radical Acceptance by Tara Bach?
I have no idea about radical acceptance, but it's more of, impermanence of life, that things will change, things will keep changing. It's
Okay.
you who have to, adapt to those changes. So
Okay.
it's more around that philosophy. So second
Okay.
book is Spin Selling,
Okay.
and the
I know this
third
one.
book is, yeah, the third book is Rework. So Rework is
I
by the
also know
founders of
this one.
Basecamp. So I
Yeah.
love these three books, and in fact, these are on the top of my mind. I completed them in last 6 months, and I'm simply in love with these books.
Yeah, the guys that created the Hey email, right? I don't know what was the deal with that, but yeah, talking about CEOs, who are your three favorite CEOs?
Three favorite CEOs. So definitely Steve Jobs has to be there, Alan
Okay.
Musk, and then I have a local, CEO Narayan Murthy. So he runs a company, IT services company by the name of Infosys.
Okay,
So I
I'll check
consider,
them out.
yeah, as well.
Cool. Well, I think that's the end, Tushar. Thank you for coming in. It was super instructive. Did you have a final thought for our listener, for young founders out there? Do you have like a core key sentence that you want to finish a podcast with?
Yes, definitely. So I think my 2 cents would be, when you start your entrepreneurship journey, right? Be humble,
Okay.
accept your mistakes, move forward faster, and don't get tied to an idea. The
Hmm.
nemesis start, I did that mistake. The nemesis starts when when you start getting tied to a particular idea, be it
Hmm.
around product, be it around, your sales process, be it around
Hmm.
something else. So
Hmm.
stay experimentative, uh, stay focused that you know nothing and it's a learning journey. Don't get into the hubris that you know everything. Small success gets into your head, and that's when
Hmm.
you start failing.
Yeah,
So don't do that. Don't stick to a particular. Keep moving. That's
I
what my
think it
key
was
are.
Steve Jobs that says, "Stay hungry, stay foolish," right?
Stay foolish. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, Tushar, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure. It's been a highly entertaining podcast. I'll send you the recording of that as soon as we're done. And thank you, my man. Have a wonderful night. Have a good sleep, good dreams, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. Have a
All
good rest
right.
of the day, and looking forward to the audio. Bye bye.
Thank you, Tushar. Bye.